Welcome to the Automation Unplugged podcast, the podcast for technology professionals, featuring leading industry personalities. I'm your host, Ron Callis.
Let's get started.
Hello there, Ron Callis. Welcome to another episode of Automation Unplugged, brought to you as always by my day job at One Firefly. I'm so happy you all are tuned in, whether you're watching here on Wednesday, the day of release, or you are watching at some date or time in the future. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. It means a lot to me and all of the team members at One Firefly that spend all the time producing Automation Unplugged, that you do tune in. If you feel so compelled, you give us a share or a comment on wherever you see this content posted. And if you do share it with your friends, if you find the content valuable, and or if you feel so compelled, drop us a note and tell us what type of guests or content that you enjoy or that you wish we would have on the show. I promise you, we field each and every one of those. We take your feedback very seriously. A lot of the direction of Automation Unplugged has been directly impacted by all of you, the folks that are our regular watchers and listeners of the show. Today, we have a great one. We have a good friend of One Firefly, and that is Kathleen Thomas, the head of Sony CS. Many of you have known Jeff Goldstein. He came back into the channel in 2020 and was running the business for Sony for a while. And he handed the baton in April of this year, April of 2025, to the very capable Kathleen, who's just been running and driving business forward. She's a pleasure to talk to, a pleasure to work with, and all of you are going to find that out here. If you don't already know Kathleen, well, you're about to. So let's go ahead and bring her in, and let's see how she's doing. Kathleen, how are you?
I'm awesome. How are you? Great. Really happy to be here.
You know, I'm noticing that I know you, but maybe I don't know you that well, because I see on your name there on the screen, it says KT. And does that mean your closest friends and coworkers or family, do they call you KT?
It kind of became a thing for work. Outside work, nobody really calls me KT, but it kind of became a thing mostly because I'm just really lazy. And so I don't type my full name. And so I always just type KT at the end because I am like, it's funny because I'm very, very rapid fire. I like to get things done and move on. And one of the compliments I usually get is you're really fast to respond. Really, is because if I don't respond real fast, I'm probably going to forget. So I tend to go really fast, and then I just write KT at the end. And so people just started calling me KT. So yeah, it's just half the time if you tell people Kathleen, they won't know who the heck you're talking about.
I love that. We do that here at One Firefly. We have actually Jessica, who works very closely.
JT, yeah.
It's JT. No one else in her life, to our knowledge, calls her JT, but we call her JT, and it just stuck. It was shorter than saying her first, or her full first name and last name. So I totally relate to that. We have the same, and there are other people on our Taylor, my CFO, we call him T. Why? Because I'm too lazy to say Taylor. So I just say
exactly. T. There's only so many minutes in the day.
Exactly. Every microsecond you can carve out, it helps.
Yeah, it's all efficiency. It's our bio. It's our life hack, right? We should start our own podcast about life hacks.
We show exactly. Amen to that. So KT, I'm gonna see how it fits. I'm gonna see how it feels over the course of our conversation. Where are you coming to us from for this conversation?
I am in my home office in Portland, Oregon.
Portland. You more recently moved to Portland, correct?
I did. Yeah, I've been in Seattle for off and on since '97. And finally you had kind of found ourselves more and more on the weekend. It's only 3 hours away between Portland and Seattle, and spent more and more of our weekends down here. The food scene is ridiculous.
You were telling me before we went live
Yeah,
here how amazing it was. Now I'm dying to get to Portland to try it
yeah,
out. All right,
it's
so describe the
world
food scene for
renowned.
us.
So I mean, there's more restaurants per capita than anywhere else in the country. And a lot of that is because not only are there a lot of restaurants, but there's also a food cart culture. So if there's an empty parking lot in Portland, there are 10 food carts sitting there. And you can get pretty much any kind of food. I mean, there's a vegan Sri Lankan restaurant. There's, you know, any kind of Thai food that you could want, not just like the normal Thai food, but like, okay, this is specific to this region. There's, Polynesian restaurants. I mean, there's literally any kind of food. We've been consistently rated one of the best pizza towns in the country. And several of the pizza places are listed on actually best pizza restaurants, from Italian organizations and things like that. So it's just a really, people here really value food, and they go out. Like, you'll go to restaurants on a Wednesday and they're full. So it's pretty fun. There was a bread festival. There's always a festival, some kind of food festival. There was a bread festival last weekend, and we really wanted to go, but we showed up and the line was so long. You were going to stand like 2 hours
Just to enter the festival?
go into the festival. Yeah, it was bananas. So, people joke about like, bread lines, and there was a bread line in Portland last weekend.
But not because people were hungry.
Not because people were hungry. It's because they wanted to buy bread.
By moving to Portland and moving into this food culture, have you and your husband like ramped up the amount of time a week you go out to eat?
Unfortunately, yes.
All this
Yes, unfortunately. Both of us we're vegan. I'm mostly vegan. When I travel, it's really hard, and so I'll just be vegetarian when I travel. But he's pretty strictly vegan, and so we eat pretty healthy and are pretty aware of what we eat. But there's like a lot of vegan bakeries here, and a lot of like it's hard. We went and got ramen last night, and it's just, and I driving there, I was like, there's too many restaurants here because there's always like,
is it vegan ramen?
It was vegan ramen, yeah. So it wasn't a vegan restaurant, but like half their menu was vegan, which is that's one of the nice things too here is like it's super accommodating, whatever kind of like food you want to eat. Like, you can be a total like carnivore caveman diet person, you can be gluten-free, you're gonna find plenty of places to eat because there's just an abundance of restaurants.
That's awesome.
And
so
it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
And it's beautiful.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check it out for sure. I live in Florida. I'm in Fort Lauderdale, and I like certain aspects of Florida. The topology. Say that again.
Mountains. We have mountains.
No, we have no topology. I mean, I guess if you go up to Orlando and just north of Orlando, you get into some foothills. I mean, I don't know, 50-foot elevation.
I grew up in Georgia. That's adorable. Yeah,
I know, it's cute. I'm from Virginia. We had at least the Blue Ridge Mountains. Yes. I know people out west still laugh at that, but in Florida, I mean, within 100 miles north or south of where I am, I mean, the highest elevation are the trash dumps.
Yeah.
I mean, the mountain, the hill, when you drive the highway and you look up, that's because that's a trash site.
Yeah.
Otherwise you're at sea level, and that's it is what it is. So traveling around the country, I do benefit. I do enjoy visiting other places.
Come to visit. I have a guest room. You're more than welcome.
I appreciate that. I will tell my wife, and we might have to make a trip out west. I have a question for you. So, head of Sony CI, what does that
Yes.
mean? What is that role or function or responsibilities? Like, what is it? What does it encompass? And maybe in
Yeah.
that we'll transition into kind of some of the stewardship in your the leadership you worked with Jeff Goldstein. I want to
Yeah.
share my experiences as well. I loved working with Jeff. Hope Jeff maybe watches this show. That would be really neat.
I'm
But
gonna
yeah,
make him watch it.
we're gonna make him watch
Um,
it. Perfect.
yeah, so it's a really interesting job. So prior to coming to Sony, most of the companies I worked with were much smaller. Pretty much any job in our channel, other than the large TV companies, are even if we think of them as big, they're really small. And most of them are kind of in general CI focused, or CI is just a massive part of their business. And so when I've run businesses like at other companies, like it was kind of the whole business. And you know the CI channel in the world of Sony is has a really unique position in that it's we're very, very different than the rest of the business throughout the company, and it's a very worldwide company, even though the US is important. CI is kind of a microcosm within the organization. And it's very different in that if you think about the other businesses that Sony's dealing with, and the other large TV manufacturers and large companies that have diverse businesses, the other businesses are really data driven. Like it's pretty easy to look at, say, like a Costco or Best Buy, or any of these large, or even outside the realm of TV in terms of cameras, because we do cameras and things like that. The camera dealers and things like that. They're very like large data driven organizations, where what the forecast is going to be, and you sit with the dealer and you do a forecast, all this kind of stuff. CI, you basically throw that all off the window. It's all vibes, baby. Like it's vibes, it's talking to dealers, it's anecdotal. It's like there's not a lot of hard data there. And so my job is a little unique from the other department heads, in our group, of just home entertainment, in that I have to kind of finger in the air, test the
It's a
wind a
little bit
lot.
of voodoo, isn't it?
It's a little bit of voodoo. It's a little bit of really understanding the channel and what drives the channel and what data to look at. Like you're not
Right.
necessarily meeting with dealers and doing forecasting, but you're digging into housing data. You're digging into talking to every single level of integrator. We also are a bit of, I like to call us the island of misfit toys at Sony, and that we're not just the hard integrator. We also have Crutchfield and some online people. So really it's those businesses that drive our premium business overall. So it's really about, okay, how do we drive premium? How do we show performance? How do we show that Sony is the leader in terms of performance for home entertainment? And so my job is really a mix of investigator, intuitor, listening to our dealers, listening to our dealers are our customers, listening to our customers at every single level. So listening to our small accounts, listening to our big accounts, and everything in between. Doing research, and then also being an advocate for the channel within our organization. And I can't expect our leadership to know all the ins and outs and everything in terms of our channel and what drives and motivates our dealers. And so that's really on me. That's really on big part of our job is to educate. For example, we just had Tyler Ishida, who had been running the president of home entertainment, recently went back to Japan for a new assignment. We have a new person that came in, Tara-san Kimura. And one of the great things though is that they know that they don't know a lot about the channel. And so one of the first things we ever get to do when we get somebody high up is we get a lot of time with them because we're the biggest thing that they need to learn. And so I was able to have several meetings with him. We took him actually to Florida, to our showroom. We went to our dealer, Acoustic Architects, and he met with them and really spent the day with them, went to houses to kind of see what exactly we do. He came to CEDIA, met with different select accounts, had him take the tour. We had him at our party so he could meet with dealers and just kind of make sure it's a constant kind of educational process of like really informing the business unit and the leadership at Sony about what the beating heart of integration is and what drives and motivates our dealers, because it's very, very different than what drives and motivates retail, right? At retail, you say I have too many widgets. You could say, okay, well, we're going to take 10% off the widgets this weekend. Great for retail. That doesn't work for CI, right? Because you're having to specify the widget, and okay, now it's actually a negative because I don't want the price of that widget going up and down, right? And so we really are there to kind of mitigate those decisions and say, hey, wait a minute, hey, can we instead have this be a longer, if it's a CI oriented product, can we have this be a longer promotion, or can we shift the promotion to this period, which may be counter to like something for retail, but it's important for our channel to also have that voice. So my number one job, like I have all these jobs, right? I also have a team to manage.
Sounds like a very difficult job just by your description so far.
It's great. It's great. No, it's awesome. So, I have all these other parts, but the reality of what my job really is, my number one thing is to be the advocate for the integrator at a huge, crazy corporation, right? So, and all of our jobs in our group is to make working with Sony, working with this big corporation, feel small and feel more intimate and feel like, okay, they're listening to us.
You've been
actually a little emotional about it. It's so important.
No, I think that I think it's a complex job, and I would add I think it's
I'm a crier, so yeah.
Say that again.
I'm a crier, so I get emotional about about the channel because it's just
channel. No, that's very important. Well, I want to get back into your backstory because you spent your whole career in this channel.
Yeah.
So actually, you know what? Let's go there, and then that'll bring us into you ultimately joining Sony at the beginning of, or not joining Sony, but transitioning into this particular leadership role at the beginning of 25. But I feel that if we start there, then I'd rather you start at kind of the whole story. Tell us the whole story. Where did you begin your career? You go back as far as you want and bring us through that experience ultimately.
Go back to the very beginning. So
go back if you're willing. I know that the audience and I would love to hear it.
It's a fun fact about KT. So, and I loved there's been so many hilarious ways for me to bring it up in my lifetime. So I love talking about it. My parents were in the industry. So when I was born, my dad was the manager at a hi-fi store that was opening in Atlanta, Georgia. My mom was doing the books. So when they opened, and I'm going to tell you how old I am, so you can do the math. When they opened in 1973, because I want to honor when they opened. The 70s were a great era for launching legendary hi-fi stores. I was in their first commercial when I was 2 weeks old. So I always joke, that was my start at 2 weeks. It was very helpful to me when I was like 20 years old and on the sales floor, and guys would come into, because I later actually worked at Hi-Fi Buys, and when guys would come into the store and be like, "Little girl, I've been shopping here since before you were born," and I'm like, "No, you haven't." I was like, they delayed opening the store 3 weeks so I could be born. So and then when I was doing phones, I later worked at Sumiko and was doing tech support, which being a 20-something-year-old girl doing tech support at a high-end audio importer, I got a lot of pushback about, what's your experience and things like that. And so I would just tell them I had 20 years of experience, and they really couldn't argue with that.
So, KT, I have a really neat fun fact for you. You want this fun fact?
I do.
And I want you to restate for me this with clarity so I can give you my fun fact. Your parents worked at Hi-Fi Buys, or they started Hi-Fi Buys, they owned Hi-Fi Buys?
So they were Hi-Fi Buys in Atlanta. So they, which is not the same company as the current Hi-Fi Buys in Atlanta, although they are connected.
Okay, that's what I was going to clarify, because actually when this show airs, I will be able to say a couple of weeks ago, I had the current manager of Hi-Fi Buys in Atlanta, Automation Unplugged, will have just aired. Chris.
Chris, yeah, I know Chris. Yeah.
Okay.
No, they're great.
So that's a different Hi-Fi Buys?
They are connected. But it's the same location, but they're really kind of what they did was kind of take that heritage and kind of bring it back to Atlanta. So, which is really exciting. And actually, when they opened, I was there for the grand opening, and they did a little story about me and stuff like that, about that heritage connection. But no, I literally grew up at Hi-Fi stores, kind of toddling around, and later my parents became sales reps, and I spent my summers packing literature, answering phones. I was really blessed with always having a lot of great audio gear at home. And, I hooked up my first stereo when I was 6, because my parents were always a little negligent in terms of when they would swap out stuff, connecting it back up. And I got frustrated. And it's like, I could read, so I knew things went in, things went out. And my dad came down. He's like, "What are you doing?" It's like, I want to listen to music. Queuing up turntables, all that kind of stuff. So so really it's just kind of in my blood and kind of what I've always done. And when I was a total nerd in school. Like, I spent my summers at Duke University, and had a mentor at Harvard, and did all these
what did you study in school?
AP. I'm sorry?
What did you study?
Well, I'm just talking about high school. So Duke has a summer program for students. It's a test-in program, and so I would go there and take classes for 3 weeks in the summer at Nerd Camp, and I did bi-mail classes through them also. That I had a mentor at Harvard, and did mostly history. So I was really, really into history. I still am. And got really burnt out when I graduated. Actually left school a year early, and I believe in hard turns. And so even though I was super intellectual and things like that, I was I am a one-dimensional person. I want to explore different aspects of myself. And so I actually went to art school. So I applied at SCAD, Savannah College of Art and Design, which at the time, now it's a huge school. They have campuses in Paris and things like that. It was not that frou-frou when I was there. It was definitely a lot smaller. But went to art school, knew nothing about art, was not an artist, but hey, I wanted to really flesh out. I was like one of the few people that got into art school on an academic scholarship. But I did. And, I studied video production. I took drawing. I did all these things. I actually majored in video production.
Did any of your professors tap you on the shoulder and say, Kathleen, why are you here?
Well, the best part was I remember when we did like a math class. So we had, you still had like math and things like that. And the teacher was doing a survey. It's just like, okay, so how many kids have done algebra? Like premature, raise your hand. How many people have done taken geometry, raise your hand. And like, okay, so has anybody taken pre-calc? Like about half the class raise their hand. They're like, okay, who's done calculus? I'm like, who's done calculus too?
You're the only one raising your hand.
You're like, why are you here?
Why are you here?
But this is the thing is I think you always have to work on yourself. You can't just go in one direction. Like you have to work on yourself. And I learned so much there in terms of leadership. And I remember when I got my first kind of leadership role when I was at AudioQuest. And my boss at the time, Steve Nemi, who was awesome. I love Steve. And he was like, sometimes it amazes me that you went to art school. He would always kind of make fun of me about going to art school. But he was like, it kind of amazes me that you're going to art school because like you act like you went to like a management, like you took, studied management. And I was like, look, I have to get people really excited about an idea and show up at 5:00 in the morning to hold a microphone for a video production for a class, and have them want to do that, and have actors show up, and all these things, and I couldn't even pay them. Imagine what you can do. Imagine what you can get people to do when you give them money on top of
actual money. They'll get paid for this.
Yeah, like it's so easy. This part's easy. I'm paying people. So it really, really taught me a lot about how much of like working with people and things like that is listening to them, is getting them engaged, getting them excited. Because if people believe in what you're doing, and it's the same thing with sales, like it's all about getting people to believe what you're doing and to be as engaged with it as you, and trying to get everybody on board with that idea. And so that's my favorite part about the job. And it kind of goes back to me being the advocate at Sony. That's one of my favorite things about Sony is, okay, can I get all these people that know nothing about CI to get like super, super excited about, this product or this strategy or, what we're doing in the channel.
So AudioQuest, where, and then I know BMW was there, Bowers and Wilkins was in there.
Yes, I'll do like the linear thing because I do tend to.
Just a little bit. That part of my brain just wants a little bit of linearity.
Yes. I've been super, super lucky to work at some of like the best places ever. So first it was Hi-Fi Buys in Atlanta, Georgia. When they got bought by Tweeter, I was, like 25.
And you were working there when they were purchased?
Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I was working there when they were purchased. I became, I basically took the money from my retirement account and did completely what you're not supposed to do. And I was like, I didn't like working for a big corporation. So I wanted to kind of keep working for a family-owned company. And I also had always lived in Georgia pretty much. I lived in California briefly when I was really young, but pretty much had always lived in Georgia. I was like, I want to live somewhere else. Like, it'd be good for me. Kind of goes back to that hard term, right? And so I decided, you know what, I'm going to move to Seattle. And they wouldn't hire me without an interview. And back then they didn't have Zoom, so you had to actually like be there. And so what I did, because this was a big risk, right? So it's like moving across the country without a job. So what I did was I called everybody that I knew in the industry. And so I had like a stack of recommendations that I like sent them in advance. And this
Who's the
was
them?
so the
Who's
people at Magnolia
Magnolia?
Audio. So
Okay.
this was back when Magnolia was a family-owned company. So basically, like I sent like 15 recommendation letters from all these people in the industry there. And so then
You really wanted this job,
well, I was moving across the country to go work there.
regardless.
Right. And so they
Okay.
were like, okay, I know I can get a job there. So I got a job there, was there for a few years. And then John Hunter, who at the time owned Sumiko. So that was later bought by Sonus Faber and then bought by Macintosh and now bought by Bose. So, it's the way the
Two
industry goes.
transactions.
But at the time, they were like a small high-end audio importer distributor based in Berkeley, California. So they wanted somebody to do like tech support and things like that. And I'd known them for a long time. So I moved down to Berkeley and worked at Sumiko, ended up being there for 7.5 years, eventually became a regional manager.
I don't
Which
know
at the time,
Sumiko. What type of product was that? What is Sumiko?
it was like Sonus Faber speakers, project turntables, SME turntables, so very high-end turntables, REL subwoofers. Yeah, so like high-end, mostly European products.
So your whole career's been around high-end AV
Yeah,
gear.
100%. 100%. And so I was there for 7.5 years, and then I went to AudioQuest, the cable manufacturer. I was there for about 10 years. About 7 of those years, I ran sales for North America, and which was a huge leadership opportunity to get at a pretty young age. It was
I
like
have
in
an
my
AudioQuest cable tied to my Dynamite amplifier here.
And it was a great place to learn. The amount of trust that they put in me in terms of building out strategy. And really, it was the first time when I had a job where they really gave me a voice of like, you're really allowing me to be a leader. And so that was an amazing time there. And then I was at ELAC very briefly, just for like a couple of years, which is speaker manufacturer. The best part about that was I got to become friends with Andrew Jones, the speaker designer who I adore. So shout out to AJ. One of the best people ever. And then I went to Bowers and Wilkins, and when I was there, it was an interesting time because they've been bought by Eva Automation, and were then later transitioning. And so I was basically there from the Eva Automation period until they were purchased by a little bit after they were purchased by Sound United. And it was an exciting time. Like, it was a lot of change going on, but James Krakowski was leading sales there at the time, and I loved working with him. He's now my mortal enemy because he runs Samsung, but we're secretly still friends. And but he was great, and he really gave me a lot of latitude in terms of driving the business, and that's where I met Jeff. So I met Jeff Goldstein at Bowers. He was there consulting, so they brought him in as a consultant to build out a strategy to grow the CI business. And Jeff kind of pulled me in as his sidekick on the project, and we really gelled. And we were an amazing team, and really over the course of a year, built out a whole strategy to sell CI, hired reps. I managed all the reps, just me. And,
Wow.
we really kind of, you really dramatically increased the CI business and built out a whole network of dealers selling Bowers and Wilkins CI products, which had never really happened before. They'd always prior been super, super protective and very, very limited distribution. And we really opened that up. So that was a very, very exciting project. And then Jeff left and went back to Sony. So and as soon as he went back to Sony, he's like, I'm getting you over here. And I'm like, no, there's no way, Jeff. Are you crazy? I sell big speakers. I sell really expensive turntables and things like that. I'm like, literally my email address is KT Stereo, right? And my Instagram is KT Hi-Fi Chick. Like, it's like, that is who I am. Like, I'm hi-fi girl, right?
Yeah.
That's it. And he kept kind of like poking me, and and then there were changes and things like that, and I really started reconsidering, and the audio side of the business was very volatile at the time, and it's nice to kind of be at a company where nobody's looking to buy you, although you're welcome to buy stock, but nobody's looking to nobody's out there buying Sony.
Yeah.
And but it really ended up being a perfect fit. So and really what I came to realize was that I wasn't selling big speakers. I was selling performance, and Sony definitely at their very, very core is about performance and creator intent, and I loved that. And yes, I still am selling audio products too. But I really kind of, again, it was funny because I realized myself that the woman that always likes to make the hard turns wasn't really making a hard turn. I was hesitant about it, but so I was like, okay, now I had to check myself and okay, I need to make that hard turn. And I, super, super glad I did. And I've learned so much. And I've never worked in a big corporation before like this. And it's been exciting, frustrating like every job is. And, I've learned so much. And it's just been a really great place to be. It's an amazing place.
Have you gone to Tokyo yet?
Yeah.
Is that part of the job to go to Japan?
Yeah, so I went last year. I'm going again actually week after next. I'll be in Tokyo for the week. So it's a great opportunity. It's always interesting too to go to Sony corporate office versus the San Diego office. It's a different vibe. I always joke because my one of our leaders, Shu, he around the U.S. office, he is very much like a hoodie, very, very casual. And then I saw him at when I ran into him when we were at the Tokyo office, because last year we were there at the same time, he was like dressed. I was like, wow, okay. Like
Dressed
he was dressed. I was like, you look a little different than you normally do, Shu.
That's funny. Yeah. Kathleen, you speak so fondly about the leaders and managers or bosses that you've had throughout your career. Are there a handful of bosses that stick out to you as really having made an impact, positive impact? And if so, how and why did they make a positive impact? Like, what was it that made that experience so memorable? Yeah, I just think of myself and the people that I lead at One Firefly, and I hope, I aspire one day some of them might think of the interactions they've had with me so fondly. So I'm just curious, what is it about the way they treated you or led you or coached you or guided you that made such a positive impact on you?
I think the two big things that are consistent with the best bosses that I've had is one, a level of respect. And these are tied, but like a level of respect and giving the people that work for you agency to explore different things, find out what they're good at, listen to their ideas, kind of let them go on tangents of like, hey, I want to do this project. But I think the biggest thing is really giving them that freedom to do the best job that they can and not micromanage them, but just trust them to say, okay, this is your project. Like, okay, you guys go grow the CI business and map out what that looks like, and giving you the agency to actually do that and the trust to do that. The fact that they gave me, AudioQuest gave me a leadership position at such a young age. I they saw in me that I was already, speaking up and taking a leadership position on my own. And they're like, hey, you're taking this leadership position. Why don't we just make you a leader? And I don't think that always happens. I think sometimes, especially, I think, I see this happen more in like women, but I think everybody, there's that personality type that they do this, that they're kind of just naturally pushy people. And sometimes that's not always appreciated. Appreciate the pushy people. Like, the pushy people are your leaders. And so I think that people that recognize, like, oh yeah, you're naturally like assertive and speaking your mind, and people are listening to you, don't see that as a threat. Like, see that as, okay, wow, we really need to elevate their voice. And I've worked at places that saw it like a threat, and I didn't last very long at those places because I was like,
I'm going to speak up. Sorry.
Why am I here? Why'd you hire me if you're not going to listen to me? So I think that that's it. Like, value the pushy people. We're good.
Value pushy people. That's awesome. All right, so here we are in we're in the fall of 2025. We're in the middle of call it fall event season. I know I'll cross paths with you at various events for sure. You certainly my team will cross paths with your team. What is Sony talking about right now? What has you excited, and what are you getting the dealers and the marketplace excited about?
Yeah, so buying group seasons, this is always a little crazy time of year. But it's always such a great opportunity. It's sort of like this is like our gathering point for like seeing all of our people, right? Because we have CEDIA, and then we have the buying group events, and so this is really like our opportunity to kind of get that kind of biannual temperature check on everybody. And we have so many dealers, which is fantastic, but it's our opportunity to kind of really have those personal relationships. Especially like from my perspective, I have like 1,500 accounts like in our little bucket that is CI, right? And so I wish I could go and visit everybody. I can't. So it's a great opportunity for us to see everybody. So I mean, I think the one thing we're going to talk about are like, what are the pain points in their business? What are the things we can do, as we're looking forward to next year's programs and things like that to, help make working with Sony better. And also, how are the different, influences and trends in the economy affecting them, all of those sorts of things.
Did you just say the dirty E word, the economy?
Oh. Everything's great. Everything's fine, Ron. I don't know what you're talking about. But no, yeah, it's it's a factor, and and we need to know how people are doing, and it's our best opportunity face to face, right? Yeah. And then the other thing talking about is products, of course.
What are the cool products on the horizon that you're allowed to talk about in this forum?
Yeah, so we do have a new, so the easy one is we have a new projector, the Bravia 7 projector, which is super, super cool. It's honestly, it's funny because I was a little grumpy about this projector because when I first heard about it, it wasn't really exactly what I wanted, but then I really wrapped my head around it and saw it, and it's amazing. It's under $10,000. Has our absolute best processing in it. So the picture is beautiful. And what really makes our processing special is we actually look at frame by frame and optimize each frame in terms of brightness, in terms of color, all these things, right? Because we actually are in the development of film from end to end. In some cases now we even create the IP. You know, we know what an image is supposed to look like. And so we're always kind of going back to that creator intent, and we're able to do that on a frame by frame basis, which is amazing and really allows us to have very, very realistic color. We don't get a lot of banding. I mean, there's so many benefits to it.
There's no other projector
I could totally
company
nerd
that
out
can
on it.
really say that, right? The idea of
No,
end to end from,
we're the only one. Like we're the only one.
that's a
We make
powerful
the
story.
video game. Yeah, we make the video game that then is turned into the movie that is shot on a Sony camera that's then color graded and edited on a Sony monitor. We're using Sony microphones, and then it's mixed in our theaters, and then we build the TVs, the projectors, the receivers, that the sound bars that you listen to them on, right? And it's an incredibly powerful story. And it's not just a story, like it actually really affects everything we do. Like we know, because we make the monitors that they grade the film color and all that kind of stuff on. We know exactly what that looks like. And so we make sure that our projectors and TVs look as close as that when you literally take them out of the box. So you don't have to do a lot of work to get the best picture out of any Sony product. And even our sound stuff, our sound bars, headphones, all those kind of things, we the people that mix film at Sony Pictures actually listens to sound bars and things like that and approves product before we start shipping them. So we really believe in that whole chain, and everything.
The Bravia 7 projector, is that replacing a different
No,
projector at that price point or spec level?
it's just fitting right in there. Between the yeah, it just fits right in. The other big thing too is RGB technology. So that is probably the biggest thing that's kind of on the horizon. You might notice my
I
t-shirt.
did. I read the press release in the spring, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna admit I don't know. I think I had read RGB LED TV. What exactly does that mean? And then when can I buy it?
So exciting. So basically, this is the biggest revolution in television since 4K.
Okay.
And the reason why is, so OLED's awesome, and I'm not going to take anything away from OLED, right? But OLED has limitations in terms, particularly around brightness. And while you say, okay, how bright does my TV need to be? Well, the truth is like the real world is incredibly bright. Like the dynamic range of the sun versus dark is huge, right? And film gets a portion of that, but it's a lot bigger than when they actually shoot. You're shooting something, you're going to get like 10,000 nits. And then TV typically is like, maybe if you're real lucky, it's 2,000 nits. So you're really having to kind of cut down, right? And so the brighter the TV, the truer and actually less fatiguing it is, the less clipping you have. It's very similar to having like headroom on an amplifier. The more headroom you have on an amplifier, the less you're going to clip, the more natural everything sounds, right? And so the brighter you can have the image, the more realistic it's going to look like. Also, it's about color volume as well. So basically the technical side of it is, on an LED, you have a backlight that typically is like a bunch of like white or blue lights. And then you have a filter, and then you have the LCD panel. Basically what we're doing is we're taking that backlight, and instead of white or blue lights, which clearly are not red and green blue, so red and green and blue, right? So we're basically making that RGB. So it'll be replaced with red, green, and blue LEDs. So the backlight will actually be in color. Yeah. And so that does a lot of really cool things, but you have to really be able to harness that technology properly to really maximize it. So by having that backlight and color, the first of all, we'll be able to go brighter. So we'll go brighter than we ever have before, but we're actually going to have less blooming. So blooming is a kind of big negative in especially LED TVs, where you will have leakage from the backlight coming through the image. Now, if that backlight now is in color, you no longer have this white light kind of leaking out that's creating blooming. So it's going to really dramatically decrease blooming. It's also going to dramatically improve off-axis response, because when you're off-axis, what you're doing is you're seeing more of the backlight than you are the image. But now that backlight is in color. So, but that really requires, to maximize it, that really requires having a lot of control over that backlight. And that's really the secret sauce. So the two secret sauces of Sony is control and the image processing. So in terms of backlight control, we're second to none. We actually have surface mounted controllers on that backlight. And this is actually true in our current Bravia 9 TV. We have little controllers in there that are giving you better control over each individual zone. So if you take off the panel on a Bravia 9 TV, you actually see whatever image. Like if it was like a picture of you, you would see the little outline of you, and you would see even like your eyes and your features kind of in a kind of a grayscale fashion in the backlight. Nobody else can do that. So we're going to be able to do that, but in color. And we're going to be able to go from a groundbreaking 22-bit control over those backlights to 66 bits of control over those RGB backlights. So it's going to be, really a revolution in terms of the brightness and the color volume, the brightness of the color that you're going to be able to achieve versus what we've been able to do in television. And the cool thing is it's something Sony's been working on for 20 years. So we actually had our first RGB backlight in 2004, and have been working on backlight technology, this whole time, and nobody can really touch our backlight technology. So we're super, super excited about this. Was why I'm talking about it like a year before, we started talking about like a year before it's going to come out. But so
it'll be released on display. Was it on display at CEDIA?
It was not on display.
When can people see it?
Okay, so we'll have it at future events, TBD, but we will have opportunity for dealers to see it in early 2026, and we typically launch products in the spring and summer, so it'll be kind of the same launch period that we normally have for TV, but I don't think we've never talked about TV, new TV technology this early, but it's because it's important, and we want to make sure that our dealers are ready for it.
You mentioned Sony's been working on this RGB backlit technology for decades. Is it represented in other products in the Sony ecosystem, or has it literally been in the shop in R&D for that long, and this is
so in 2004 we released a TV with an RGB backlight. This was before 4K was a thing. This was before mini LED was a thing. Like it was super, super early. And so after that we've really been working kind of up to it in terms of really refining our backlight technology with our backlight master drive, which was wildly successful in our premium TVs for many, many years. And then the backlight that we launched with the Bravia 9, which is probably one of the coolest demos ever. Like you put your sunglasses on, look at a movie just with the backlight. And so it's really been something that we've been refining, because the big key that you have to have is control. And so there are other RGB TVs out there. They're from our competitors, and But the main thing is they do not have the level of control and the processing power that Sony has. And a lot of that goes back to we're not just making TVs to make TVs. We make TVs because we're recreating the movies that we make. And so it's really, really core to who we are that that performance be there, and that we make it, we have a level of perfection that we expect out of ourselves. And so it's really, really important that it be as close to reality as possible.
It sounds amazing. I can't wait to see it. I'm sure everyone watching and listening is now super eager to see, put their eyes on it as well, and provide it to their customers. I remember when I was walking the Sony booth at CEDIA, and I was actually trying to talk to Joseph, and he was over at all the receiver products, and he was doing some demos, and I was listening in. Is there just high level? Is there, what's going on in the world of Sony receivers in terms of technology driving that business? Are you guys doing that? Is that a growth business? Is that any new technologies, or what could you add there? Because I always think Sony, I think projectors, TVs, and receivers.
Receivers, yeah. I mean, we're really unique in that we're like the one company that kind of does everything, right? Yeah, so it's a 60 years of ES. So this is our 60th year of having ES products, so elevated standards. So that was a big centerpiece of CEDIA. Was really,
I was seeing that you saw all the lineage of Sony gear over the decades. It was really neat
cool.
to see all of
It
that.
was so much fun. Yeah, and so we really celebrating that heritage. It's the receiver market is really interesting right now. I think there's a lot of directions where that business can go. And so we don't have anything like, brand new around the corner, but we're really kind of looking and analyzing, okay, what does a receiver do in the system? What's a receiver going to look like in 10 years? So that's really what we're focused on now is, where is this going, and what is the thing that we think of as a receiver now going to be, 5-10 years from now, because it may look and feel very, very different. And so, that's just part of the dynamic nature of CI, and, that it's always evolving. And as much as we think of it as a mature business at this point, it's still very, very evolving. And I think we saw a lot of change happen in COVID in terms of how systems were designed, and we're going to continue to see change as things like AI, and other technologies come in and really change how we interact with our products.
Where are we at? I'm mindful of time, but I want to just touch on a few more things. Video walls. I've been to the facility, and I've seen actually the Sony video wall display in a few places, but I saw you down in South Florida earlier this year at your rep's facility, and it was, I mean, the display is stunning. Of course, I saw it at CD as well, in the theater. What is the video wall business doing from Sony's perspective? I'll tell you, my perspective is it's a hot topic. It's a lot of people are talking about it.
It's a fast growing business. It's definitely not the biggest business, but it's expensive, but it's our fastest growing category. It's funny because we've actually been doing it a lot longer than a lot of the other brands on the market. And one of the things that's like my favorite thing, I kind of talked about that end to end. My very, very favorite thing about our CLED, which is what we call it, is it was actually originally developed for production. So it's actually a production. It's used in film and video production. So it's really intended on a design to be a backdrop, and really put the actor
like in movie studios where it's the background of like Mandalorian type sets, or not. I just know Mandalorian used that type of technology when they shot it.
Yeah, and it's cool because it works in conjunction with the cameras. So you move, and it like the backdrop moves and all that kind of stuff. It's very, very cool. And really allows you to go to anywhere in the world, and looks much more realistic than like a green screen or anything like
Yeah.
that. And also is more immersive for the actor, right? They're able to like interact in the space. But it's so cool because that is literally the same thing that you put in your home. And so it's really that true lens to living room story where the same thing that you're using in production of a film or a TV show is what you put in your home. And it's second to none. It's absolutely gorgeous. And it's just a different experience. It's a different experience than projection. Like there's still a place for projection. It's kind of like that analog streaming thing. And so there still is that place, and will always be a fit place, I think, for projection. You can put projectors places that you can't really put a video wall. But that is a truly awesome immersive experience, especially sitting in front of like a 193-inch video wall. And because of that, I think you're seeing TVs get bigger, bigger, bigger. There's kind of a physical limit in terms of how big you can make a TV, and video walls are also the solution for that.
So it's your forecast. We'll see those continue to. You see it as a
Yeah, and
fast
you'll see
growing category into the future.
Yeah, no, it'll continue. We're definitely the leader in terms of premium. And you'll see also like, prices, every technology, people are like, oh, when is prices go? Technology prices always go down, right? I mean, always.
Yeah.
Like we remember when, a 55-inch TV was $10,000. So the prices will come down. I mean, it's always, I think, going to be a premium. But it's definitely an awesome experience.
Kathleen, I'm mindful of time. I actually have other things I was thinking I was going to get to, but I had so much fun in everything we did talk about. We're gonna call it there. I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your incredibly busy schedule to spend time with me and to share with our audience about your background and about what's going on with Sony. It really means a lot. So thank you for joining us on Automation
Thank
Unplugged.
you. It was fun.